Welcome to another episode of Mindset Monday. I'm your host, Garrett Bake, owner, founder of the American Contractor Network. We are here in conjunction with Contractor Plus, the only CRM you will ever need to scale your contracting business. We got to come up with a tagline to use, but I like that one. Well, I appreciate you guys being here on this beautiful Monday across the United States. Last week, a little chilly, but today it's warming up a little bit, which is nice. Today, I really want to talk about you. And we talk about you a lot, but I really want to talk about you today, and you'll get what I'm talking about here in a second. Before I talk about you, I actually want to share a story. There's a particular contractor that I've been working with now for 6 years. His name is Jay. Jay's from Arizona, and he's been in the contracting space for 15 years, I think, maybe a little bit more. We'll just call it 15 years. And Jay is really good at one thing, and that is taking care of his people. Always has been, and he always will be. He has a heart of gold. He's always making sure that his people are taken care of. Now, that also is the biggest fault that Jay has, right? Because Jay works job site security. So the cameras that you guys put up on your job sites to make sure that nobody steals anything, that's right. Jay's got a company that'll do that for you. If you want his information, just reach out and I'll give it. But here's the issue that we have. Jay, when we first started working together, was working about 70 hours a week. Now, some of you guys are working 70 hours a week and you're like, so what? Well, I'll explain what here in a second, right? Working 70 hours a week on average, sometimes 60, but mostly 70 hours a week. Here's the other issue. He was driving at times shotgun, which is driving across country, dropping off some equipment or picking up some equipment, turning around and driving back, right? Some of you guys have done these long road trips and they suck. So Jay's working 70 plus hours a week. He's driving across the country. Here's a positive thing, at least through the eyes of most people. Jay's company was generating about $3 million a year in revenue. That's not bad, right? $3 million a year in revenue. And he was overweight and out of shape. And his wife wanted to leave him. And his kids didn't have a relationship with him. And I could keep going, right? Because the issue that Jay had at the core of everything wasn't the kindness of his heart, wasn't his ability to make money. The problem that Jay had was that his team was costing him money. Now, let me explain that in more detail. You see, Jay had a team. It wasn't him by himself generating $3 million a year. Jay had an operations manager. Jay had an assistant. Jay had a construction supervisor, if you will, field manager. And Jay had a whole lot of people that were working with him at the time. And so Jay had a team that was helping him generate $3 million a year in revenue. But here was the problem. Because Jay bent over backwards for his team to make them feel comfortable, to make sure that they were taken care of, picking up the slack when they fell short, Jay was literally working himself to death. Now, I've done 70-hour weeks before, and they suck. If you're doing them right now, odds are you've got a coffee in one hand and a Monster in the other. Like, there's no way around it. Humans were not made to work that many hours. And yet here you are. Some of you who have worked it in the past know exactly what I'm talking about. Now, here was the problem. There wasn't going to be more Jay. There just wasn't, which meant there wasn't going to be more business. Because Jay was at the point where he literally wanted to burn it all to the ground. Because it wasn't worth it anymore. The long days, the sleepless nights, the fact that he couldn't find anything healthy to eat. And so it was the gas station, the convenience store, the McDonald's, the whatever was in front of him at that moment. His wife wanted to leave him because they didn't have a relationship. Sure, he would sleep in his bed at night, but the truth is, it wasn't really him. It was a shell of who he was. He was missing sporting events for his kids, right? Sacrificing everything for the business. Or at least that's what he told himself. And so Jay had a decision Either I'm going to run my business or my business is going to run me. Because right now, if you were to do an audit of the time that you're spending inside of your business, the real question is, how many things are you doing that you should be doing? But more importantly, how many things are you doing that you shouldn't be doing? I'm going to pause and let that sink in for a second. If you're here live, we appreciate you dropping a what's up, good morning, hello, how's it going in the chat. We'll acknowledge you. Nicole Crocker, appreciate you being here. Thank you. Chad, great to see you. Again, drop it in the chat. We are very interactive. I love to hear from you, your feedback, and I love to be able to shout you out. Back to the topic, right? Your team is costing you money. And the real reason they're costing you money is because of you. So if we were to do a time audit right now, Joe, what's up, my man? If we were to do a time audit right now, where would you say you are spending your time? Are you spending your time driving to the job sites? And each week that eats up 20 to 30 hours of your time. Are you spending your time doing your books 10 hours a week, or invoicing 12 hours a week, or putting bids together, right? Or are you on the job site doing the work that you hired somebody to do, but they don't do it good enough, so you end up doing it anyway? You guys have all heard the hat analogy, right? How many hats are you wearing? The marketing hat, the sales hat, the job supervisor hat, the construction laborer hat, the books hat, the invoice hat, the office manager hat. Like, we can just keep going and we start stacking this thing up. Mr. 18, you're here. We are glad that you are here with us. So you're wearing all these hats, right? But where is it that you're spending your time? And I'd love for you guys to drop this in the chat. If you're driving, totally get it. But where is it that you're spending your time right now? And notice I didn't say wasting, because this is a conscious thing that you're doing. Whether you choose to acknowledge it or not, you are consciously spending time doing these tasks. And trust me, it feels good sometimes. You know why people love firefighters? Because they always show up and rescue, right? They rescue the cat out of the tree. They rescue the people who are in the burning house. They rescue the people who are in a car accident. Rescue, rescue, rescue. And it feels good to be a firefighter. Should we add that firefighter hat to all the other hats that you're wearing? Because that's what you're acting like right now. I'm a firefighter. I put fires out, right? You put fires out. So somebody causes a fire. It's either a client, it's an employee, it's a partner, or hell, it might even be you. And you're putting fires out, fires out, fires out. And at the end of the day, it feels really good because you're like, man, I put a lot of fires out today. But then you look at the progress that you made and realize that you actually didn't make any progress. Right? And I'm telling you this because I want you to just be real with yourself for a minute. Just be real. You may be bringing in dollars like Jay. $3 million a year. Awesome. Congratulations. But at what cost? At what expense? Because your team, or in this case, your lack thereof, is costing you money, right? We got Joe that says marketing, sales, doing jobs, babysitting, customer development. All good things, right? Nothing in there is a bad thing. Unless babysitting is your employees, then that's a bad thing. But everything else, part of doing business, as they say. We got Stanless. I don't have your whole name on here. Being in the field, working with my hands versus working on innovations. Oh, yeah, very true. Joe followed up. Significant money is team cost. It is employees, 100%, right? Now, here's another question for you, right? Of all the things right now that you're doing that you should not be doing, which one is the biggest time waster? Which one is the thing that you can just point it out right away and be like, man, I should not be on the job site anymore. I should not be following up with these outstanding bills anymore. I should not be scheduling appointments anymore. What's the thing that you're doing right now that you should not be doing? Joe says babysitting. That's the hardest thing, bro. The hardest thing. And it's a different conversation that we'll have about employees at a deeper level at another day. But understand that if you're babysitting employees, something's wrong. I got kids. And I could say now I used to babysit them because my youngest just turned 18. But I got kids and I didn't mind babysitting my kids, right? They're fun to hang out with, especially when they're young. When they get older, they get a little ornery and they tuck back, right? But I enjoyed hanging out with my kids. But my employees, no, not at all. It's the worst thing to do. Okay, Johnny, make sure you clean up that job site. Okay, Phil, make sure when you're painting that your strokes are going up and down and not left to right. Okay, Phil, when you're putting that wiring together, make sure that you're using a wire nut. Blah, blah. Like, oh my goodness. Here we got Joe saying grown-ass men that are longtime Masons that should know and are paid to know what they're supposed to do. 100%. 100%. Now, listen, I'm not here to tell you what you don't already know. You know that there's issues in the labor market. You know it, right? Competition for the good people is fierce. It's just the reality of the situation now. People are choosing different careers. People are realizing that they can get by half-assing it, right? It's part of the game. But you as the owner have a responsibility, and that responsibility is 100% to you. So here's a question that I want you to say, or I want you to look at, right? Of all the things that you're doing right now that you shouldn't be doing, one of two things you need to look at, okay? The first one is, are the people that I have on this team taking me where I want to go? In other words, if you're under seven figures, are they helping you build a seven-figure business? If you're already over seven figures, are they helping you to that next target, 2.5, 5, 8, 10, whatever the thing is? Because if they're not, again, they are costing you time, and ultimately they are costing you money. There's an electrician that I work with, and last year he did 2.5. This year he's on pace to do 10. Big jump. And it's not because of some frou-frou fantasy that we made up. Oh no, that's just literally the amount of work that he has on the books. And the first conversation that we had this year was about his team. And I said, do you believe that your team is capable of handling $10 million worth of work? And he sat there for a second and looked at me and said, no. And I said, then we got some work to do. And I don't mean work as far as wiring new buildings or rewiring wastewater treatment plants. I'm talking about with your team. You see, because your team is supposed to alleviate the pressure. Your team is supposed to take on more responsibility. Your team is supposed to allow you to work on the business and not in it. You should be out shaking hands and kissing babies, not with a tool belt on your knees. That's not where you should be. So if we're looking at all of the things that you're doing right now, all the things that you're doing, and we said, okay, if I hired somebody and I paid them $20 an hour, how many of these things could I take off my plate? How many things? Or maybe it's $30 an hour. If I paid somebody $30 an hour, how much of this could I take off my plate? Right? We got Joe and Chad talking about babysitting. And I get it. I totally get it. Trust me. On our last remodel job, it was horrible. Horrible. Telling somebody what to do, them acknowledging it, showing them how to do it, them acknowledging it, and then doing it the wrong way. It was a tile guy, by the way. Right? So I get it. But what if you had somebody that was doing the thing that you're doing right now? I mean, if you need a babysitter, let's just call it what it is. There's a reason there's supervisors, superintendents, project managers. What's their job? It's to get people to do the thing that they're supposed to do, period. But right now, you're acting as that superintendent, project manager, field supervisor, which is keeping you from doing the thing that you should be doing. So what if you hired somebody? How much would you be willing to pay for that position? $20, $30 an hour, maybe more? But ultimately, how much is it costing you to be out there doing the thing that you shouldn't be doing? At some point, you're going to have to calculate how much an hour of your time is worth. Right now, an hour of my time is worth $750. That's how much it's worth, which means anything under $750 an hour, I should not be doing. And there are still some things that I do. But for the most part, I've eliminated those tasks. Answering phones? Nope, don't do it. Scheduling appointments? Nope, don't do that either. Estimates? Mm-mm. How about managing jobs? Nope. How about following up with people? I don't do that stuff. I have a team that I pay and pay them well to do that, because my time is better spent doing other activities. My time is better spent growing the business. And so that's my challenge for you, is looking at your business and saying, why am I doing the things that I'm doing? Literally everything that you do on a day-to-day basis. Why am I doing the things that I'm doing? Now, you're all grown-up men and women, but let's be real. How much time do you spend on social media? I don't know. An hour a day? 5 hours a day? 7 hours a day? I've seen it all. And trust me, I know the difference between getting on social media, going live, getting on social media, recording a video on a job site, showing the work that you're doing, getting on social media, responding to people who are interested in your work, or getting on social media, scrolling through videos, getting mad at Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift. There's ways to waste time on social media, right? And we find a way to do it. But again, should you even be on social media? We talk about your team. Is your team taking you where you want to go? You'll hardly ever find me on social media. I post usually once a day, and that's to keep my writing skills up. But here's a little secret. I don't reach out to people. My assistant does. I don't follow up with people. My assistant does. I don't schedule appointments. My assistant does. I don't post videos. My assistant does. So again, how many things are you doing right now that you shouldn't be doing because your time is worth $250 an hour, $500 an hour, and yet you're doing $10 an hour tasks, $20 an hour tasks, thinking that, oh, I have to do this, right? And that have to is the lie that you keep telling yourself. It's a lie. So if we were to look at all the things that you're doing right now, how often do you find yourself either doing or redoing the very thing that you hired somebody for? Whether that's knocking on doors, whether that's putting an estimate together, whether that's something on the job site, laying tile, brick, putting a roof on, following up with outstanding invoices, putting your books together. Like, what is the thing that right now you find yourself doing or redoing, even though you hired somebody else to do it? Go ahead and drop your comments in the chat, because I'd love to hear from you, right? When I first started, I wore it as a badge of honor that I was there all the time and that I was capable of doing everything, right? Look at me. I'm the owner operator. Sounds really cool, doesn't it? Yeah, except when it starts to affect your sleep. It starts to affect your sanity. It starts to affect your relationship. And ultimately, it starts to affect your bottom line. Because if I'm on a job site, where am I not right now? Where am I not? I'm not doing the things that I should be doing, which is growing the business. Which, by the way, we talk about this every week, and I will hammer it into your heads every single week. There is no shortage of opportunity today, tomorrow, or the next day. I don't care about the economy. I don't care about politics. I don't care about the weather. There is no shortage of opportunity. It's just, how are you taking advantage of it? And if you're on a job site, you're not taking advantage of it. And if you're in front of a computer trying to figure out how to put an estimate together, you're not taking advantage of it, right? We got a couple comments in here, right? It's challenging for most small businesses to justify increasing their burn rate to bring on more talent. 100%. Typically, small SMBs, by the way, small to medium-sized businesses, have to maintain profitability, so it's hard to know when to hire. That's a great point, right? Well, when do you hire? Well, again, this is a conversation that's a little bit deeper, but I'll keep it very high level, right? Here's the deal. If you don't have jobs coming in, it's not the time to hire. Fair? So let's go get jobs first. Bury yourself in jobs, and then you start working it backwards. Okay, I've got jobs and I don't have enough people. What do I need to do first? I need to hire people to do the work. Okay, cool. At what rate can I pay them and still maintain profitability? Did I bid my work in a way that maintains profitability, right? The next thing you look at, okay, so are these guys capable of doing the work without me supervising them? No. Okay, so then I need to supervise them, or I need to find somebody to supervise them. Now, every new job that comes in, I need to make sure that it's bid in a way that is taking into account this new position, right? And so everything from that point forward gets built into a new position. So your estimates are going to go up because your job is to keep money, not make money, keep money, right? So that was a great question. Next one, or next statement, actually. So sometimes us small business owners have to assume some of these menial or low value responsibilities just until revenue permits increasing our payroll expense. Yeah, we just hit the nail on the head, right? Like the hardest job you'll ever have is marketing, because you may figure marketing out, but because you are getting sidetracked doing the work that you just got paid for, then marketing goes by the wayside. And then you finish the work and realize there's no more jobs coming in. So you find yourself bouncing back to marketing, then doing the work, bouncing back marketing, doing the work, back and forth, back and forth. That's why it's so important to make sure that you are always marketing, right? Joe says, that quote I wrote keeps me motivated, but you have to be willing to spend money to make money. If I have to take a loss for 2 quarters, it will double the remaining 2. Man, Joe, I couldn't agree more. And that's really one of the hardest things that contractors will ever have to do. And that is, am I willing to put all the chips in and make this thing work? Hard question, right? Now, I want to wrap this up with a very singular thought. And this is the way that we work with our clients. This is the way that I teach everybody to think. We can talk about 15 different things, right? Like in this conversation, we talked about a lot of different things. The fact that your team is costing you money, but you're the biggest piece of that, right? Where are you spending your time? Where's your team spending your time? Where are you doing activities that you shouldn't be doing? So on and so forth. But out of all that comes one singular question. And that's, what's the one thing you need to do this week to move the needle? One thing. You can't do it all. Trust me, I've tried and failed. You can't do it all. But if there was one thing that you could do this week, what would that one thing be? The one thing that's going to push you to where you want to go. And I don't mean finishing the job that you should have finished last week, right? That's a project management issue. That's a time management issue. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about big picture, growth of your business, taking you where you want to go. What's the one thing you need to do? Is it hire somebody? Is it let go of a task and give it to somebody? Is it start to hold somebody accountable that you haven't held accountable up until now? What's the one thing that you need to do that's going to move the needle, that's going to start pushing you where it is that you want to go? I would love to hear in the chat if you have that one thing identified. If you don't, that's okay. Noodle on this a little bit. Think about it. But remember, these conversations mean absolutely nothing if you're not willing to do something with the information that you got. I got a pile of books, literally an entire bookshelf worth of books. And for the longest time, they were decorations. That's all they were. Until I started to read them and apply what I was learning in them. That, my friends, is the key to growth. Applied knowledge. So this week, get super hyper focused. Yes, you've got the work to do. Yes, you need to go generate more leads. Yes, you need to onboard that new hire. You got a lot of things to do this week, but carve out some time, a few hours, and start working on your business. Figure out what you need to do to move the needle and create the ultimate business that creates the freedom that you're after. All right, that's all we got for you guys today. Appreciate you being here. Appreciate you sharing some time with us. But again, you guys know what time it is. It's time for you to get after it. 3, 2, 1, off you go.